Okay, yeah. Okay, so hello everyone, it's me, Shuttle Lefty here, and for today's reaction, and I'm very sorry if I sound very, snotty, okay, maybe I have a starburst in my mouth, if this will help, and also acidity, pretty sure that's pink and orange, definitely pink, and then pretty sure that is a orange, I think, or is that red? Very, very not needed for this video, but, my gosh, let me do it like this. This is either gonna be orange or red. Besides that, once again, for today's reaction, I'm gonna be reacting to it, and hopefully I will be able to upload this, but I will put it as the true meaning of FNAF 4. And I'm also just going to say I have already watched this, and yeah, and I enjoyed it. I definitely enjoyed it, and I'm going to put captions on, and yeah, and with all of that said, well, also before I press play, down below, definitely down below, I will be leaving, I'm going to try to leaving a link, or yeah, a link to this video, and of course in the title, I will be having at 808 Freddy's channel, of course, like all the other channels, and yeah. But with all of that said, let's get right into it.
Five Nights at Freddy's 4 is by far the most cryptic game in the series, and to this day, over 10 years after its release, nobody can agree on what the story is, or how it fits into the larger narrative of the games. What's so infuriating about this game is that despite how mysterious and vague it is, Scott Cawthon thought that it should have been obvious, and was astonished that nobody was able to solve it only weeks after the game was released.
Somehow, no one, not a single person, found the pieces. The story remains completely hidden. I guess most people assume that I filled the game with random Easter eggs this time. I didn't.
Well, Scott, after over a decade of deliberation, I think I may have just found the pieces you were talking about, and revealed the story of your most enigmatic game. What if I told you that FNAF 4 wasn't meant to confuse and divide the entire fandom, as it unfortunately did, but rather was meant to provide a narratively satisfying conclusion to the story arc of the first 4 games, while at the same time planting the seeds for where the story would go next? What if I told you that FNAF 4 is all about the missing children incident, and this crying child is the key to solving the original story of Five Nights at Freddy's? First, let's ask ourselves, what is the story of the first 4 games? You could say,
and I don't know, by me pausing it is going to be making this longer, but how I like to be thinking of it, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people probably will agree or disagree, but tell me down below in the comments, that I think for the perfect timeline, but with FNAF 4, of course, it being that I think the actual mini games where we technically are moving / playing as the crying child, I think those part, and which shows by 83, or the big bite, it happens first, then FNAF 2, then FNAF 1, then after FNAF 1, that's where the night parts of FNAF 4 happen. Since I'm pretty sure we all can agree that that part of it is basically us playing as Michael, but, and then FNAF 3. So yeah, the mini games in FNAF 4 first, then FNAF 2, then FNAF 1, and then possibly pretty much FNAF 3. But with all that said,
it's the story of Michael Afton, who accidentally kills his brother and goes on to work as a security guard across various Fazbear locations, which is definitely true, but I would argue that the family drama-esque Afton saga really plays out in the second half of the series, from Sister Location onward. It's not central to the story of the original tetralogy. No, the story of the first 4 games is about 5 children who went missing at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, murdered by the purple guy. Children who went on to possess the 5 main animatronics who haunt the player until they're freed. It's the story of the MCI. In FNAF 1 and 2, we learn about the MCI, plus the additional murder of a 6th child who goes on to possess the puppet. We learn that 5 children went missing in June of some unknown year in the past. We see their killer returning to the FNAF 2 location, and we see the puppet give them life in the animatronic suits. The biggest question mark we had about the MCI after FNAF 2 was Golden Freddy. Why was he so ghostly and erratic in a way that the others weren't? There must be something that makes him special. In FNAF 3, the player can access the good ending minigames, which seem to show us where the spirits of the MCI are now, decades after Freddy Fazbear's Pizza closes its doors. They're lost, trapped in some kind of digital purgatory, and the player has to jump through some metaphysical hoops to access this plane and find them, give them cake, to invite them to a birthday party, their happiest day. In Happiest Day, it appears that this purgatorial birthday party is for the 5th missing child, Golden Freddy, with the other 4 children being guests, his friends, and the puppet being the one orchestrating it all. Completing this minigame seems to release all 5 spirits plus the puppet, and rewards the player with the good ending, where the animatronics are no longer haunted. The MCI are free. Although FNAF 3 provides an ending to the MCI's story, it still leaves a lot of questions. Why are characters from FNAF 2 involved in this process? What makes the Golden Freddy spirit special? Why does he require the others to come to his birthday party? And why does his birthday party set them all free? Those questions are all answered in the very next game, but it's going to take a little bit of theorizing to put the pieces together. They're in place for us, and they have been for over 10 years. All we have to do now is find them. Here's a question that FNAF fans don't ask enough. Why is the crying child crying? It seems like a fairly simple question, but after all these years, we still don't have a great answer. Sure, he's bullied relentlessly by his older brother, his parents are seemingly absent, and he's deeply terrified of the Springlock suits at Fredbear's, but there seems to be something more going on here. Notice something unusual about the dialogue in these cutscenes? Almost every single character the crying child interacts with gaslights him for being scared, acting like he's being hysterical for no reason.
Why are you crying? Don't you like my toy collection?
Aren't you the kid who always hides under the table and cries? Ha ha ha! No one else is scared. Why are you? Stop being such a baby.
You better watch out. I hear they come to life at night, and if you die, they hide your body and never tell anyone. Why do you look so worried? See you at the party?
That last one really does make it seem like what's seen by everyone as a silly playground rumor about Freddy's is utterly terrifying to this one child and to him alone. It's almost like he saw something, or knows something so unspeakably terrible, and he can't tell anybody in the neighborhood because they simply would not believe him. The only ones who believe him are his friends, the ones he saw get murdered and stuffed into animatronic suits by a wicked yellow rabbit. Now that is a reason to cry. These cutscenes depict the summer of the MCI, when children are quietly going missing at Freddy's, but almost nobody knows about it yet. The crying child was friends with the 4 other children, and saw at least one of them get murdered, sending him into a state of hysteria and leaving him utterly alone. The way I see it, there are 2 possible interpretations of this, both of which have roughly the same implications for the story. Either he was friends with the victims while they were alive and physically witnessed their deaths, or he became friends with their ghosts afterwards and was shown their deaths in a more supernatural way, and the ghostly Fredbear plush is communicating on behalf of all of them. Think about how Abby was friends with the children's ghosts in the movie, and the Golden Freddy spirit spoke to her on behalf of all of them. Spiritually or physically, the missing children are the crying child's friends. And this is where all of the pieces start to fall into place. But before that, please consider liking the video if you've been enjoying the theory so far, and subscribe to support the channel. I have more thoughts and theories to share about FNAF, and I'd love for you to be there when I do. Now, back to the video. Let's take another look at Happiest Day and compare it with FNAF 4's ending, The Big Bite. The layout of the restaurant and the presence of 4 masked figures, with a 5th child being the odd man out, makes it clear that Happiest Day is some kind of purgatorial recreation of this event, the crying child's birthday party, which would unequivocally, beyond a shadow of a doubt, imply that crying child is Golden Freddy, the 5th missing kid. This goes against how the vast majority of the fanbase interprets the MCI, because the way Crying Child's death is shown does not line up with the rest of the murders at all. He isn't technically murdered in cold blood, and his death is out in the open for all to see. Also, where he dies appears to be Fredbear's family diner, although there has never been overt confirmation that this is not Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, making this a reasonable assumption at best. The FNAF 1 newspapers that serve as the foundation for all MCI theories is worded vaguely enough that if Scott wanted to change the details about how these 5 children died and came to possess the animatronics, he could have done so without outright contradicting this information. If the child who possesses Golden Freddy does die under completely different circumstances than the rest, it would explain a lot about both Golden Freddy's behavior and Happiest Day. Golden Freddy has always stood out from the rest of the core 5 animatronics because he doesn't appear to be physically present. He's not a physical possessed animatronic suit. He's a ghost taking the form of an animatronic suit. If the crying child is Golden Freddy, then this makes a lot of sense. While the other 4 kids are stuffed into the suits and can physically possess them, Crying Child was never stuffed anywhere, as far as we know, and can only appear by taking the form of the animatronic who killed him, Fredbear. His spirit is more restless because it does not have a home. Also, the specific way in which he died seems to have a lot to do with Golden Freddy's unusual nature. His head gets bitten, presumably removing or severely damaging his frontal lobe. The final lines of dialogue after this scene make it seem like this incident somehow broke or fragmented his soul in a way that did not happen to the others. Only Crying Child needs to be put back together, and that's exactly what the player does in FNAF 3. Happiest Day is a reassembled version of the Crying Child's birthday party, only instead of the only guests being bullies who torment him and make him feel alone, the guests are his friends who love him, who tragically couldn't be there when he needed them most because they were dead. Now he can finally have the happy birthday that he never did, and his soul can be put to rest. The reason the minigames in which you find the children and invite them to Happiest Day use characters like Balloon Boy, Toy Chica, and Mangle is because they are representations of the crying child's scattered memories from the week of his death. Memories in which the spirits of his friends are lost inside of. BB's Air Adventure parallels this kid from the neighborhood. Chica's Party World is representative of the Chica toy in the girl's toy collection. Mangle's Quest is representative of the disassembled Mangle toy in the empty girl's room. And Stage 01 is a show stage where he gets bit. Crying Child's soul itself seems to exist across all of these memories, as Shadow Bonnie has to jump through them to get to him. The MCI victims being his friends also explains why their souls would be hidden in his memories. He carried the knowledge, the weight of their deaths with him throughout that whole week. The painful absence of his friends is intertwined with all of these different memories that were shown in FNAF 4. In FNAF 3, over 30 years after the MCI and the Crying Child's death, the player searches through the Crying Child's memories of that terrible week and finds the souls of the missing children inside them, and with the help of the puppet, puts them back together by changing the memory of his worst day to his happiest one, finally putting his soul to rest and releasing all of the others. And that is what FNAF 4 is about. That's the story that Scott Cawthon thought we should have figured out over 10 years ago. It's the story of the 5th MCI victim that resolves the narrative arc of the first 4 games and explains why Golden Freddy is so special. Going over this evidence for the crying child being the 5th MCI victim and the receiver of Happiest Day sent me down a crazy rabbit hole that has made me reconsider so much, not just about the first 4 games, but the entire FNAF series. And although these findings fall outside the scope of this video, I would be remiss not to mention them here. The fact that the crying child's spirit needs to be released in order for his friends to be released makes it seem like he has some power, some level of influence over these other spirits. Maybe the agony of his birthday party was preventing them from moving on. That brings to mind the vengeful spirit from UCN, which I think deserves a video of its own. But if the crying child's friends were killed by a man he would later find out to be his father, that would give him a reason to want revenge. It even fits the use of male pronouns from the voice lines in that game. The only snag in this theory is that he wasn't technically killed by Afton, but there may be some potential workarounds there. Maybe his negligence killed him, maybe he pulled the plug on him in the hospital for some reason. Even if Crying Child is not Toy Shank, he clearly...
Which I also want to be saying, and I'm pretty sure we kind of, it's already been figured out, that I think a good I'm pretty sure, for sure, a good reason why Villain would actually kind of do that is because, and just it's a hear me out situation that I think it's because of, and definitely going by Crying Child, Chris, my favorite name for him, Evan, Dave, or Evad, I think it said David, but Dave, you want for the freaking sake of it, David, just so on and so on, whatever name goes with the Crying Child or CC, whatever, but like that, I definitely want to be saying, I'm really on the side that William pulled the plug, or it could have been Michael, because he felt too terrible that he did that to his younger brother and sent him to the hospital, but, I kind of on the side, it was William because of him seeing how the animatronics were able to possess definitely if it's going the CI, I think I said that wrong, but going by that whole thing, that I'm definitely pretty sure William was like, and definitely depending on however part you put, definitely kind of like FNAF4, like if you take it apart from the games and the UCN, not UCN, but the UCI, that's what it was. But yeah, just going by that. And I'm just talking about random stuff and making this video longer. But Monica, please tell me down below if that made sense, if you got this far, and my reaction to this. But with all of that said, moving on and going back. Well, when I say moving on, I mean the video.
Holds some influence over the supernatural elements of the restaurants. Theorists like T-Dreads and the Unwithered Truth have popularized the God victim interpretation, which basically states that what Crying Child experiences in FNAF 4 causes him to influence certain aspects of the restaurants after his death. I agree with this, and I think the fact that his spirit must be released in order to release the others is even more evidence towards his godlike abilities of influence.
Part 4. Perhaps.
Now, I strongly believe that this is what FNAF 4 was meant to tell us when it came out. It was about the MCI, but it was also setting up the next arc of the series to be expanded upon. The mysterious empty girl's room in the Crying Child's house was purposefully left without an answer to be picked up on in the next mainline game. The infamous box was supposed to be a teaser for where the story would go next, but since FNAF 4 was never truly solved, it was never revealed. The big twist at the end of the game was supposed to be that the night gameplay sections were being experienced by the Crying Child's brother, which would then prompt the player to connect the dots and figure out that the brother is the night security guard from the other games. Even with that reveal, his story was still being set up for later. Soon after FNAF 4, the Silver Eyes novel was released, which for the first time gave a face and a name to the mysterious purple guy, William Afton. And the next mainline game, Sister Location, would go on to develop his story and his family's story. FNAF World is more of an addendum to the original tetralogy. It clarifies some of the mechanics about how Happiest Day was constructed in the time between 1983 and whenever FNAF 3 takes place. The story of the Afton family is what I would consider to be the second arc of the FNAF story. The MCI arc is a largely self-contained story that, in my opinion, is completely solvable from the first 4 games alone. FNAF 4 is literally referred to as the final chapter of the original story in the Steam description. The Afton arc is where the story goes next after that. It adds additional context and character drama that expands the FNAF universe. It's a story that I would love to cover in my next video as a part 2 to this one, how to solve Sister Location without retconning FNAF 4. Some people think that details from Sister Location and games after that are retconning or overriding the original story of the first 4 games, but I completely disagree. I think it's absolutely possible to solve and understand the Afton arc without having to go back and massively change fundamental parts of the MCI arc. I strongly believe that Scott wouldn't have written his story that way. There's also the massive Cassidy-shaped elephant in the room, who I purposefully left out of this theory because I really wanted to try to solve what the MCI was telling us at the time, and the name Cassidy was not revealed until years later. Cassidy appears to be the name of the 5th MCI kid, which would make Crying Child something else. It confuses things a lot. Cassidy's role as the 5th MCI kid, half of Golden Freddy, and perhaps the vengeful spirit in UCN, has been the dominant narrative in the fandom for a while, but recently the tides have started to change. As the story of FNAF unfolds, we seem to be getting more and more allusions to the Crying Child and his importance, while Cassidy has received virtually no evidence of her importance since the logbook. At this point, I wouldn't be surprised if Cassidy was just Crying Child's name, as dual process theory posited in their solving FNAF theory. Or maybe assigning her name to the 5th gravestone was just a grave misunderstanding. To me, the evidence for the Crying Child being the 5th MCI kid is more compelling than the shreds of information we know about Cassidy. So, that's my FNAF 4 theory. A bit of MCI 83, a bit of BB 5th, a bit of God Victim, Loop Victim, and some other stuff. I hope you guys found it as satisfying as I did. Thank you guys so much for watching, and please let me know what you think of this theory in the comments. If you haven't already, please leave a like if you enjoyed, and subscribe so you don't miss my next video. Until next time, take care.
Okay. Let's stop it there. Because actually, what I kind of noticed, no YouTube ads! No ads in this video, so no editing! Yes! Okay, but besides that, there's, I think, 2 or 3 outbreaks, or speak outs. I'll call them speak outs. Don't know why. I'm just gonna do it. Fight me down in the comments. But I hope you enjoyed this. I hope all of you enjoyed this. And if you notice, I'm chewing on the second one, which was red. It was red. So I got red and pink. If you know, you know. If you don't, that's fine. That's perfect. Really fine. But once again, I hope you all enjoyed this, and if you did, please be remembering to be clicking, tapping, booping that subscribe button, and not just that. Please be making sure that you're spring locking the heck out of that little bell, so you get notified and you don't miss out when one of my videos gets up, when my video gets uploaded. Tongue twister, if you want to be calling it that. But please also go check out any of my other videos, and kind of how I said it in the beginning, down below in the description. I'm gonna try to be remembering to be leaving definitely a link to this video. And definitely in the title, I'll be leaving a @ for 808 Freddy's channel. And definitely with all that said, and the final time, I hope y'all enjoyed this. I will be having, I will possibly be having video set for upload for you all to watch in next week. Since this, I'm gonna try and be making this possibly the final time I'm gonna be saying it, because on Monday I will be going to Las Vegas for my mom's birthday. but technically with my older sister, older brother, and his girlfriend, and with my stepdad, and basically, once again, Peter already said, but for my mom's birthday. And with all that said, this video was way longer than I was kind of wanting it to, but I kind of say it is what it is. So I'll see you all on the flip side, and peace.